Lesson 14 in Module 5. Let's get started. Today we're going to be doing word problems, and we're actually going to be working in Lesson 14 and Lesson 15. Before we get started, our materials that we will need for today, the usual things that we'll need are our Eureka book, our headphones, and something to write with. But we're actually going to be doing something a little bit different. This is a combined lesson of 14 and 15. And so today when we do problem number 1, we're going to be doing lesson 14, problem 1. So you're going to want to find problem set for lesson 14, and we're going to do number 1. And then for problem number 2, we're going to move on, and we're actually going to do problem number 1 in lesson 15. So we're going to do problem 1 in both of those. So please be ready to turn the page after the first problem. Okay, our learning target for today is I can solve real-world problems involving area of figures with fractional side lengths using visual models and or equations. So today we're going to be solving word problems, and we're going to be multiplying fractions, mixed numbers, and things like that in order to find the area of certain objects. Okay, let's move on and let's take a look at problem 1. This is problem 1 in your lesson 14 page. So I'll just make a note up here. Lesson 14, number 1. Okay, the problem says, George decided to paint a wall with 2 windows. Both windows are 3.5 by 4.5 feet rectangles. Find the area the paint needs to cover. The problem also has this picture to go with it. So I have 2 sets of information. I have the area, or I have the dimensions of the wall, and I have the dimensions of the windows. So I'm going to go ahead and take some notes here just to help me out. These windows are 3.5 feet by 4.5 feet. And I noticed that there are 2 of them. So here's my plan. I'm going to find the area of the entire wall, and he has to paint the whole thing except for this area here and this area here. So I'm going to calculate the area of the window. I'm going to multiply it by 2, and then I'm going to take that area away from this whole wall, and hopefully that should give me the amount that he needs to paint. So let's get started with the area of the room. So he's doing 12 7/8 times 8 feet. I'm going to redraw another area model here just so that I can show my thinking. Go ahead and do this with me. And he's doing 12 7/8. And this length here is 8 feet. Okay, 12 times 8, let's see. 8 times 10 is 80, plus 2 more 8s would be 16. So this is 96 square feet. And then 7/8 times 8. Well, I could do this 2 ways. I know that 7/8 times 8 equals 56/8, which just equals 7. But I could also just cancel out this 8 and this 8, and I know that it's 7 square feet. So the area of the wall of all the paint that he would need is 96 plus 7, which is 7 and 6 makes 13, 103 square feet. So I know that the wall is 103 square feet. Now I need to subtract the area of the windows. So let me draw a little line here. This is my window section. Let's find the area of the windows. 3 1/2, split it, and this is going to be 4 1/2. 3 times 4 is 12. 4 times 1/2 is 4 halves, or 2. 3 times 1/2 is 3 halves, and then 1/2 times 1/2 is 1/4. So I know that 12 plus 2 is 14. And 3 halves, I'm going to change this to be 6/4 plus 1/4 is 7/4. 7/4 is 1 3/4. And when I add 14 and 1 3/4, each window is going to be 15 3/4. Let me change color to get a little bit darker. This is 15 and 3/4, and this one's also 15 and 3/4. Next, we need to subtract. Next we need to double 15 and 3/4 times 2. Well, let's double our whole number is going to be 30, and our fraction doubled 3/4 plus 3/4 is going to be 6/4. And I know that this fraction is greater than 1, so 30 and 6/4 is actually going to become 31 and 2/4, or 31 and a half. Now, my last thing to do is subtract 31 and a half from my area of 103. So I'm going to do 103 minus 31 first, and I am going to get 72. Now I know that I need to do 72 minus one more half, and my answer is going to be 71 and a half square feet. So this was a lot of steps, but if you do go through it carefully, you for sure can follow along and do this on your own. Let's take a look at problem number 2. So go ahead and turn your page to the lesson 15 problem set. Lesson 15 problem set. And this is problem number 1. It says, the length of a flower bed is 4 times as long as its width. If the width is 3/8 meter, what is the area? So let's draw a picture here. If the length of a flower bed is 4 times as long, so the width here will be 3/8 of a meter. So this is 4 times bigger. So it's going to be 4 times 3/8 of a meter. When I multiply that out, I get 4 times 3 is 12, 12/8, which reduces to 3 halves. Now I could turn this into 1.5, but I'm just going to leave this as a fraction so I can multiply them together. So I'll do 3/8 times 3 halves equals 9/16 square meters. So the area of that flower bed is 9/16 square meters. That is it for lesson 14 and 15. These are tough, but please read slowly, follow along, and show your work. Here is your exit ticket. This is the lesson 14 exit ticket. So if you want to show your work on paper, it's right here. Please solve this on a Post-it with a picture and then put it up on the board afterwards. Let's check in for what you can do during workstations. So this is the lesson 14 exit ticket if you want to reread it on paper, or just pause the video now and solve it on a Post-it. After solving it on a Post-it, please input your answer here. Thanks a lot.